Colombia with an O.
¡Es Colombia, no Colombia!
It's Colombia, not Colombia. Colombia with an O.
Es Colombia, no Colombia.
It's Colombia, not Colombia. Colombia with an O.
Okay, I think we're back. There we go. All right, well, there you go. Episode 33 and technical difficulties. That's where we are. But we're not going away. I'm here. I'm here with you, and my name is Juan Pimiento, and that's my Twitter handle. I don't care. We're going to be here because you're here. So we're going to stick around. I'm going to tell you that this is the Colombia Soccer Pod, episode number 33. Yes, my name is Juan Pimiento. I am at Pimiento Futbol on Twitter, and you can follow us on our social media right there on my left-hand side, right here. On Twitter, at Colombia at Conco Soccer Pod. On Instagram, Colombia Soccer Pod. On Facebook, thank you for watching us on Facebook, the Colombia Soccer Pod. You can always watch us also on YouTube as well. Thank you for those joining on YouTube and on Twitch. That's the ways you can watch us. You can listen as well via podcast if you prefer to do so, on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, on Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud. That's where you can listen to us each and every Tuesday. Yes, I know you're wondering, hey, it's not Monday. I thought the big banner on your Facebook page and your Twitter page said Monday. What happened? Well, we're switching it up a little bit. We're switching now to Tuesdays. Tuesday nights, 8 Eastern, 8 Colombian, 7 Central, 5 Pacific is when we're going to go live now from today on, basically. Every Tuesday night. We're going to do it because Monday night, it's become a custom now that Monday night there's plenty of all other Liga BetPlay games, now also Liga Femenina games. Tuesday, yeah, it coincides with, some Copa Libertadores as well. In fact, today there were also Liga BetPlay matches still to play from the weekend match day. So Tuesday is a good day, and now we're here. So Tuesdays, every Tuesday, again, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific, your Colombia Soccer Pod, which today brings you a special episode, at least for me. And I think it's a special episode because we get to really do a deep dive into the state of our women's soccer. It's not the most encouraging of landscapes, unfortunately, but it is a big week because we had the start of Liga Femenina with all new changes, a whole new format. We'll break it all down in a second. Also, we had action from the Colombia women's national team, which played on Sunday in Cali and will do so tomorrow in Bucaramanga, hence the Leopardos. I'm wearing the Bucaramanga jersey. So we'll break that down. And today was a historic day here in the U.S. I feel like if you're in the U.S., if you're a soccer fan, if you're a sports fan as a whole, if you're a fan, if you advocate for equality, for gender equality, today you know that it was a big day. So we'll talk about that. We'll break that down, as well as the latest in Liga BetPlay, because we had action today and over the weekend as well. We'll talk about the results. We'll talk about some of the conclusions, because we're now eight match days deep. We're almost halfway through. We'll be halfway through after this coming weekend. And there's some pretty big things happening. Especially if you're a fan of the defending champions, man. It is no good. It is no good. And today is also the debut for Colombian teams in Copa Libertadores. Right now, Millonarios is in action at El Campín in Bogotá against Fluminense. I'll tell you what's happening with that game, and also do a little bit of a preview for the visit of Nacional against Olimpia this Thursday, all in the second qualifying round of Copa Libertadores. But let's talk about our women's game, because we have, for the first time ever, these 17 teams right here. 17 teams playing in Liga Femenina in 2022. On the day that the U.S. women's national team took a humongous step, there we go, if I can say it correctly. I'm so excited that I stumbled, there we go. On the day that our U.S. women's national team took a huge step forward and accomplished a big victory in their fight for equal pay. Now knowing that they're going to receive equal pay as the U.S. men's national team, plus a multi-million settlement as of today's news. How far away is Colombian soccer from achieving this feat with their women? Unfortunately, it's pretty far away. And I gotta tell you, it's pretty sad to think about the fact that as of last year, Colombian men's players, at least the big winners, right? The big winners as far as salaries go, they earn about $13,000 a month. The women's club player in Colombia, the women's soccer player in Colombia, on average, about $300-400 a month. Dollars, I'm talking about. We got a long way to go, unfortunately, in Colombian soccer. Fortunately, we do have something encouraging to look forward to now that the Liga Femenina started this past weekend, because we do have 17 teams. That's almost the same number of teams as the men's tournament does. Men's tournament, let's not forget, it's 20 teams all playing against each other. But it's also the format, because now the women will get to play each other. 17 teams all playing each other round robin style, todos contra todos. Only one tournament. Again, the men play 2 tournaments a year. The women will play only one. That tournament started this past weekend, February 20th, and will run through June 2nd, which will be the final, in a format that also includes Los Ocho. The top 8 will qualify for the quarterfinals. They'll make it then to a semifinal, then the final, of course, and the new champion, or the same champion. We'll see how Deportivo Cali fare on June 2nd. The champion, the runner-up, will then go to Copa Libertadores, which will be this October 13th through the 28th. Let's not forget, too, Liga Femenina and Copa Libertadores Femenina don't coincide like the men. There is no Copa Sudamericana Femenina for the women's game. Copa Libertadores plays a tournament in just, a matter of 2 weeks, basically. It's only a few teams, which I think makes it even more attractive, because you really have the best of the best. It's like the old school way of playing the men's tournaments when you had only about 12, 16 teams, but they were the top of the top. So in the women's game, we had Copa Libertadores, by the way, won by a Colombian team, Huila, just a few years ago. We've achieved that feat. Of course, last year Santa Fe came this close to Copa Libertadores number 2 for Colombia, losing a very tough game against Corinthians. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in Copa Libertadores Femenina this year, because we do have, again, the 2 teams that are going to partake. One of them is the defending champions, Deportivo Cali, who
Es Colombia, no Colombia!
Amazingly enough, in both the men and the women, both
It's Colombia, not Colombia.
Champions, and now the women enter as defending champions, of course, in 2022.
Colombia with an O.
That is looking to maybe get back in Santa Fe. And if you look at the results of this first match day in Liga BetPlay Femenina, we already have surprises, because Santa Fe lost their first game against Pereira. That was a shocker. That was the shocker of the first match day. Deportivo Cali beat Huila. Not a surprise. Huila are returning to the league, by the way. And think about this. Think about the fact that Huila, again, a team that won the Copa Libertadores not that long ago, didn't play the league, the local league, last year. They're back this year as our Junior, one of the highest budget teams on the men's side. Same thing, didn't play Liga Femenina this past year. Huila are back, Junior are back, Cortuluá, Tolima, Orso Marzo, and Pereira, the team I just mentioned, that shocked Santa Fe. Cali, they look like they're the favorites still, the prohibited favorites to retain the title that they won last year against Santa Fe in the final. They've only added. They were able to do what the men's side wasn't able to do, which was to, number one, keep their base. The base of the team that won the title last year. They stayed and added a couple, I would say, pretty high-end reinforcements with Stephanie Castaño, who is a Selección Colombia level goalkeeper. She's in fact with the Selección Colombia Femenina on their camp as they face Argentina. They also brought in Gisela Pino from Chile, And they have Frangeli Rodriguez, who is also one of the players who really was able to shine in Liga BetPlay. She's Venezuelan. They bring her in. So Cali, again, to me, there's still a gap between them and the rest of the league. Then it's pretty much up to either América de Cali, their big rivals, and then Santa Fe. Nacional were also part of the mix last season, making it to the semifinal. They have such turnover that it's going to be difficult for them, at least early on. So much so that they also lost. That was the other shocker. They lost to Llaneros in their first match on the road, 2-1, this past Friday night. So already starting with surprises. And that's exciting because in Liga Femenina, it tends to be a little bit top-heavy. We're not exempt from surprises, but it tends to be a little bit top-heavy. We'll see what happens now because, again, the format is different. In the past, there were less teams, and remember as well, they used to be broken up into groups. It used to be 3 groups, then 2 groups. Now it's everybody. So how can they handle that the rigor of a bloated schedule, a lot more pressure because, again, you're facing more teams. It's not going to be as simple to advance into the top 8. And if you fall behind the 8 ball, as happens with the men's tournament, it might be difficult to have to paddle upstream, basically, and make it to a quarterfinal in this case. So I'm excited for a Liga Femenina in this new season, in this new format, because, again, of all the things happening, and you gotta know that with Copa America being home this year in Colombia, it's going to be played in Bucaramanga, in Armenia, and in Manizales, I believe is the other one. Let me look really quick because it's not your usual sites, which is only right. I mean, it's kind of what happens with the other men's tournament. You don't really host it in Barranquilla, in Medellin, and Cali. This time, Cali will repeat. Cali will be in, but Bucaramanga and Armenia are the other 2 sites. So that's pretty exciting. And again, I've seen what happens with Colombia as far as when they host tournaments, like we had the Under-20 Men's World Cup, like we had in multiple South American championships that we've had on the men's side, of course. People turn out, and I really hope that people turn out to Armenia, to Cali, and to Bucaramanga for these upcoming games. In preparation for these games, of course, Colombia are in the middle of their latest camp, national team camp. Their latest FIFA match day is underway, and it started with a banger, I would say, because that draw on Sunday, 2-2 between Colombia and Argentina in Cali was pretty dramatic, at least at the end. At the end, it was a wild ending. Colombia were trying to come back from 1-0 down. They battle. First half or second half begins. They come back 1-1. And then it all goes haywire towards the end. Colombia make it 2-1 late on the next sequence. 2-2 Argentina. So it was a wild game. Colombia, I thought, had a pretty good showing. Colombia has done a very nice job. They have a pretty encouraging campaign thus far, I would say, on the road to their Copa America. Colombia are vying to return, of course, to the FIFA Women's World Cup, which they missed out on the last edition, 2019 in France. They are hoping to be back, especially because the Women's World Cup is expanding. Women's World Cup is now going to 32 teams in 2023 when the tournament goes to Australia and New Zealand. So now South America has 3 direct spots, if you will, to the World Cup, and 2 more for a playoff. The playoff will be a little bit weird. It's a little bit different. Again, not like the men. It's a little bit different because the playoff will actually be a tournament played right before the World Cup next year, next February. So it's a little bit different again, but up to 5 teams. So half the confederation, half of CONMEBOL, like the men, can make it to the World Cup. We know that Brazil are up here. They're the class of South American women's soccer. They're World Cup contenders. They're the only legitimately World Cup winning contenders when it comes to the women's game. That's the reality of things. Everybody else is just vying for a spot. Right now, it's pretty much up to Colombia as the host, to Argentina, who've made it now to several World Cups, to Chile. Same thing, they participated back in 2019. They have the best goalkeeper, arguably, in the entire tournament, in Christian Endler. You also have up-and-coming teams like Paraguay and Venezuela. So it's going to be interesting. And I would imagine that, Colombia, at the worst, will make it to the playoff. But looking at the way things have been going in the last few months, dating back to last year when Colombia kind of began really, the stretch in this preparation, 2 big victories against Ecuador to the tune of 1-0 and 4-0 in Quito, on the road, by the way. And all 5 goals in both games scored by the boss herself, Catalina Usme, the all-time leading scorer in Colombia women's national team history. They had their friendlies against Paraguay canceled last year in June. They're going to play 3 games in Asunción. September, it came Mexico. That was rough. That was a rough game. We recapped that game at the time here on the Colombia Soccer Pod. It was a rough game. Again, it was a 2-0 loss in Mexico, and that was kind of a little bit of a measuring stick too, because if you think about Mexico, unfortunately, not one of the strongest sides, at least not as strong as its talent would dictate. They're working their way there, but I feel like for Colombia it would have been a nice result, at least a draw on the road, for this women's team to prove again, that they're stepping up in competition. Then came Uruguay, pretty hard fought, 2 games in Palmira back in November, 3-2 and 1-0, but again, both victories. So that coupled with an October game against Chile, that was 2-0 in Cali, and we're talking 5 games in a row for Colombia against South American teams. And again, when you talk about Ecuador, Chile, and Uruguay, they're direct rivals for Colombia on the road to the World Cup in 2023. So that's pretty encouraging. Then came Argentina. We know they're a pretty tough rival. Again, I would say just by the fact that they played in the World Cup last year, not last year, but last edition in France.
Es Colombia, no Colombia!
Again, Argentina, maybe a level above. So can you get a result at home? It would have been nice for victory, but I don't blame them. I don't blame Colombia because again, I thought they were the better team, and that's me. Just like any friendly, that's what really matters: is how do you perform? How do you perform against direct rivals? And it was pretty good. Colombia also missing several players from this fixture. There was a whole controversy, and you talk about the lack of progress in the Colombia's women's soccer. We're in the year 2022. We're talking about players complaining about being left out and not knowing why. There is, of course, a lot of talk about players being vetoed. Even Yoreli Rincon is, the poster child for this. I would say, for someone who has the talent. I mean, here's a player who played for Inter Milan. How do you leave her out? How do you not have her on your squad as the number 10? That's pretty inexplicable. She's spoken out. Plenty of players have spoken out in the past about questionable call-ups, about lack of communication, lack of support. She's one of them. Will we see her back? Who knows? I would really hope so, especially again for a Copa America that could really use Yoreli Rincon and all the reinforcements that Colombia can have. You can't explain it. Same thing with the 2 girls from Sevilla, Isabel Echeverri, Natalia Gaitan, who you would think would have made up the midfield for Colombia. They are the 2 starting midfielders for Sevilla, and nowhere to be in the squad. Yeah, they were coming off injuries last year. They missed a lot of time actually with injury in 2021 for Sevilla, They missed those friendlies against Chile and Uruguay for Colombia. But by all accounts, they were ready. Why they weren't in the squad? Who knows? And they even hit out. Echeverri did. She hit out on social media saying, I was ready. Pretty much, I'm ready. I don't know what happened. And again, all the talk about vetoes and exclusions came back to life. And you don't know. And it's more maddening because knowing the performance Colombia had against Argentina again on Sunday, Colombia controlled the ball. They were the better team as far as creation. They were the best team on offense. They defensively they held up. The problem is that the chances that they afforded Argentina, which were 2, ended up in 2 goals. That's the only difference, really. But Colombia were able to really do a lot of damage against Argentina. They didn't create that many chances, but again, they look very solid, very productive on offense, especially, and on defense, they held up pretty well. But it makes you think. I mean, what if this team had everybody? What if this team had Yoreli and Isabel Echeverri and Natalia Gaitan, alongside who I thought were some standout players like Daniela Montoya, who is going to be the captain for Junior as they return to Liga Femenina. She was the captain and she was everywhere, man. She was everywhere. She looked like Franz Beckenbauer or, Lothar Matthaus, or to bring it back to the women's game. If you've seen Julie Ertz can play center back, can play defensive mid, can play center mid, can play advanced midfielder, attacking midfielder. She goes everywhere up and down the pitch. That was Daniela Montoya. You saw her, performing permutations everywhere for all her teammates. Right back, left back, center back. Her starting position was center defensive mid, but then again, she was everywhere. She moved everywhere, so much so that it almost cost her maybe an injury. She pulled up lame at the end of the game because of the effort, but that was the kind of effort that she provided, and it was pretty good. To me, she was a stand-up performer. I gotta give a shout out to her. I gotta give a shout out also to Carolina Arias, who has seen in the past that even though she's not a natural left back for the national team, she's performed very well. And it was more on that side. Her and Mayra Ramirez, Gisela Robledo, they were able to do a lot of more damage. Catalina Usbe, she was basically moving about, more of a rover forward, if you will. And she was able to get a goal in this game, the tying goal. On a play, by the way, created mostly by the stand-up performer to me in the second half, which was Alexa Barr. Alexa Barr, for those who don't know, is a U.S.-born Colombian national team player. She was born in the U.S., in Beaufort, Georgia. Shout out to our watchers, our viewers and listeners in Georgia, especially in the Beaufort area. A lot of Latino immigration, by the way, in Beaufort. She was born there of a Honduran dad, Colombian mom. Actually played for Honduras on their under 20 team and ended up choosing Colombia as their senior team. And here she is. And in 2 games, she showed a pretty good, at least a very good alternative off the bench. The type of player who is a winger, who can provide that quickness, that acceleration right off the bat. And she did. And again, off of that, she was able to pretty much create that first goal for Colombia. Second goal was all Mayra Ramirez. She stole a ball when Argentina fell asleep in the back, right close to their own goal. She took it, ran it in, and with the size she has, physically, the size she has, she was able to muscle the ball away from the defender, sneak right in, and get the second goal. At the time, it looked like Colombia were going to win, but again, only the second time that the Colombia defense failed ended up being the tying goal, and that was it. It was a 2-2 result. But for Colombia, again, I think from the midfield up, even with the absences, because you would think that, again, an ideal midfield for Colombia would be Natalia Gaitan, Isabel Echeverri, Daniela Montoya, Yoreli Rincon, and then up top, you have Catalina Usme. Maybe you stick with Mayra Ramirez. I know that they have a pretty young options at forward. One of them, by the way, who was a notable absent was Linda Caicedo, who was our Colombian wonder child, if you will, our wonder kid, about to turn 17. So take it easy. But I'm sure she'll be in Copa America. She's just so good. How do you deny her? You know, how do you deny her? And I'm pretty sure that the Colombian coaches face a tough dilemma every time, because the under 17 team can use her, the under 20 team could use her, and the senior team could use her. So again, even if she wasn't at this game against Argentina on Sunday, and she won't be tomorrow in Bucaramanga against Argentina again in a friendly, you can bet on her being in Copa America come this summer. So I would expect to be there. Another alternative, Gisela Robredo is only 18 years old. So Colombia have good young options. The defense is the one place where I still have my doubts, because Nelson Abadilla, the coach, has tinkered with it. She tried in the first half with Daniela Caracas out on the right-hand side as a fullback, which she's usually not. She plays for Espanyol in La Liga as a center back. And when she switched over to center back for the second half, much more comfortable in that role. Catalina Arias played as the right back. She did it just as well. So it's a matter of figuring out what exactly are the roles for the defenders, the ideal roles, namely, for the defenders, knowing that, again, the pressure is going to be on come Copa America this summer. So other than that, I think I'm pretty good with Colombia so far. It's just, can we get the players who are missing ready and able and in sync for Copa America? Positive result, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Again, Colombia will play again tomorrow in Bucaramanga at the Alfonso Lopez against Argentina. That game will be, for those of you who are watching it, it's not like they're showing it on TV anywhere here in the US. You kind of have to find some other means, if you will, to watch this game. You figure it out. But this game will be at 7 o'clock Colombia time, so 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central, and 4 Pacific. So stay tuned. We will have coverage tomorrow of the game on our Twitter account. Again, at Conco Soccer Pod. If you can't watch it, you can follow along on our Twitter for the live results, the live updates of that game. Okay, let's go to our Liga BetPlay roundup. We have the results from, there we go. There's the results from match day number 8. Again, today, right now, we had actually one of two games happening. The game between Rio Negro Águilas and Patriotas, it is over. Águilas, led by Leonel Alvarez, wins 1-0 against Patriotas. Third victory of the season for Águilas. And then right now, 1-0 in Palo Grande. Once Caldas, one of the surprises, I guess, maybe, of the tournament so far. 1-0 leading Pasto, who are just sinking like a rock in water. So far, you have to say that the biggest surprise is Deportivo Cali. I don't know what's going on with Deportivo Cali in this tournament. I'm going to analyze it. I'm working on a guest, hopefully, who can help me figure out what's happening with Deportivo Cali so far in Liga BetPlay, because it's really mind-numbing to go from winning the tournament last year, the way they did, again, especially coming from behind, switching coaches, bringing in Rafael Dudamel mid-tournament last year, and going all the way, toppling the best team in Colombia in Tolima on the road, winning the title, to now being dead last, and I'm not exaggerating. Cali are in 20th place. And this season, they're unable to beat teams like Alianza Petrolera, we see on the screen, 1-1 result this past weekend. Like Pasto. Like Envigado, who they lost to on the road. You can't explain it. You just can't explain it. They brought in reinforcements, but they lost too many players. They lost Harold Preciado. They lost Andres Colorado. Just too many players. And they didn't replace them as well as they should have. I talked about Tolima last episode when I previewed Tolima's prospects for Copa Libertadores. And yeah, Tolima, they drew 0-0, but they were able to get off to such a good start, their first place, and they were able to replace everybody pretty much. It's amazing because they brought in quality signings, but signings that fit a system that was already in place. And that was the key part of all of this. That was the important part for Tolima, was to replace those that they lost, but not just with names. Michael Rangel just didn't come in because he was Michael Rangel. Same thing with Andres Ibargüen or Raciel Garcia or Alexander Dominguez, the goalkeeper. They are replacements for players in the same roles. And that's the success that Tolima has had so far, is because of that. They picked up right where they left off. They're in first place. We also had victories for Nacional, who were in second place, 1-0 over Unión. Nacional are still not at their best. They're winning despite some pretty stale looking, very not so encouraging performances. Can't find the word. They're not really at where they could be. Again, given the names, still working their way through. Gio Moreno still working his way back to fitness. It's pretty obvious. Dorlan Pavón is Dorlan Pavón. I mean, Dorlan has one gear and that's it. They're still working their way there. Midfield still working their way through. They got the bad news that Alex Mejia is going to be out for a few weeks, which is pretty bad timing because, again, Copa Libertadores is coming this Thursday. We'll see what happens with John Duque. John Duque is one of those guys also, like Gio Moreno, still working his way on this squad. Baldomero Perlaza is coming back from injury. It looks like in a couple of weeks. That'll be a big boost for Nacional. Second place, but still not even at their best, which is good in that, if they're not at their best in second place, I mean, what does that mean if they find their groove? So that's encouraging for them as well. The other story, Millonarios. Wow, Millonarios, and at a perfect time, they're picking up pace. Third place, 17 points, the same as Nacional, but 4 wins in a row. And doing so, again, despite all the questions we all had about Millonarios and the fact that they didn't bring in names that you thought worthy of a team going to Copa Libertadores. But Gamero is working his magic, just like he used to do at Tolima, with young players, with players that are pretty much unheralded. That guy, Daniel Ruiz, the number 10 winger, is a very interesting prospect. Very interesting player. If you watched him so far, he's been one of the best players so far in Liga BetPlay. It's been one of the best things about Liga BetPlay thus far. And he's got the number 10 only at 20 years old. And I think Ruiz is a guy who, of the domestic players, I think he has Selección Colombia potential, to be honest, from what we've seen so far this season. They got Steven Vega, who has already made it to Selección Colombia in the friendly against Honduras. Eduardo Sosa, Ginás, Roman, Vargas, a lot of players. Veteran leadership in a guy like David McAllister Silva, who's the veteran guy, the captain for this team. So it's a good mixture. The striker, Eraso, I mean, he's been kind of the butt of the jokes for Millonarios fans so far this season. It's an interesting case. Eraso is not a guy that I would trust with Copa Libertadores, on the horizon. It's one of those positions, striker, that Millonarios really whiffed and should have gotten someone better, honestly. Eraso's good. It's just that he's not elite. So I don't think it's going to be enough. But again, so far it's working for Gamero. Once Caldas, again, the surprise. It's 2-0 now. They just scored against Pasto, a team that was in such deep crisis the last few seasons. Really, failing to make the top 8, failing to do much of anything in the Colombian league at all. This year started with controversy because of the potential name change, a big uproar, and rightfully so. But the fan base, so far, the team is still called Once Caldas, so rest easy. But that's pretty good to see Once Caldas on the up and up once again. Again, a team that is also young. They got a good young coach, especially Indigo Corredor, who already did a great job with Pasto. He's with Once Caldas, off to a good start. We got Santa Fe and Medellin in 5th and 6th place, who faced each other. Santa Fe winning 1-0. Santa Fe also a team finding their groove, finding their way with the new coach, with a lot of new players still. But a guy like Carlos Sanchez, who's a veteran, known and loved by all of us Colombian national team fans, he's back in Colombia and he's showing that he still got it. And Santa Fe is reaping the benefits of having La Roca Sanchez in their squad. Medellin, again, they're up there, but it's been up and down, up and down, up and down. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss for them. Comesaña is getting criticized a lot. I mean, so far, again, top 8 for a team that failed to make the top 8 last season. So, good enough. Let's put it that way. Cortuluá, surprise also at 12 points. And Junior, more disappointment, I would say. Again, for a team with the names Borja and Cariaco Gonzalez and Didier Moreno and Fernando Uribe. And again, a lot of big names that they brought in. Daniel Giraldo. 4 wins and 4 losses in 8 games is not good enough. That's simply not good enough for Junior and Juan Cruz Real, who again had a lot of flashback, a lot of backlash. It's not flashback, backlash, I should say, from being named. He's not really helping his cause. On the outside looking in, we have Alianza Petrolera, who again got a big point against Deportivo Cali. And Vigado, I mean, they're hanging in there. Yasser Asprilla with the number 10, still showing why he's the prospect that everybody's salivating about. So far, so good for Yasser. And they went to Bucaramanga and they won on the road 2-1. Águilas also in 11th place, 11 points. They just beat Patriotas, as I mentioned too. Pereira hanging in there with 10. Nothing much. Jaguares have plummeted. Jaguares have just collapsed, nosediving. 4 straight losses after what was 3 wins and a draw in their first. They were up there. They were leading the league at one point, and in the last 4 games, collapsing. Equidad, not really the team that is giving teams trouble that they used in the past. Alexis hasn't gotten the most out of this team like he has previous teams, only 9 points. America, that's a whole another soap opera. With Juan Carlos Osorio, oh my God, every day it's something with Osorio. It's incredible. And again, it's not like America has the strongest team, honestly. It shouldn't be, bad enough to be in 15th place, but it's not good enough to really be up there either. So, for as much as people rip Osorio, and a lot of it he deserves, did the front office really support him the way that it should have? Then we got in 8 points, Pasto, who are losing to Once Caldas right now, 16th place, 8 points for Bucaramanga. Again, a team and a club that just keeps shooting itself in the foot. The team that has a huge problem because the front office is completely inept, and the results show it. 18th place, Unión Magdalena, only 6 points. Patriotas, 4 points. And Cali. I still can't believe. I still did the standings. And to see Cali in 18th place or 20th place, it's just amazing. Absolutely incredible. And Dudamel keeps giving you quotes every single weekend. This past weekend, he basically told, the reporters and media, don't talk about my exit. Don't speculate about my future because I'm not quitting. And I love this quote because he said, you're going to have to take me out with my 2 feet in front of me. Con los pies por delante, which basically means you're going to have to kill me to get me out of Deportivo Cali. I'm with this team to the death. But is Cali dead already? And with that, then is Dudamel going to die with them too? That's the big question because right now, again, it's the 8th match day, and Cali are 8 points back of the 8th place. I don't know, man. And Copa Libertadores is coming up for Cali pretty soon. They got to turn it around. I mean, can Cali afford to wait, 2-3 weeks before their debut in the group stage of Copa Libertadores. Can they afford to keep Dudamel? I don't know. We'll see. But it's just amazing. A guy that revived Cali from the tough situation last tournament, made them champions, now on the hot seat. It's incredible. Games coming up. Match day number 9. We have on the 26th, which will be on Saturday, we have Envigado Jaguares, Pereira Equidad, Tolima Junior, which is a fantastic game. Friday night. If you got nothing to do Friday night, watch this game because it's going to be dope. Really, really dope. We got Millonarios against Cortuluá. Saturday, Unión Magdalena Cali. I want to watch that game because I don't know. I don't know if Cali can go to the Estadio. What's the name of the stadium? Oh my God, I forgot now. But Unión Cali. That's the point of all of this. Unión Cali, Sierra Nevada. There we go. Unión Cali, 3 o'clock on Saturday. Bucaramanga Nacional. Also Saturday, Cali Once Caldas. I think Once Caldas has a good chance of winning at the Pascual. On Sunday, Patriota Santa Fe. Then Monday night, Pasto Alianza Petrolera. And Medellín Águilas Doradas. Copa Libertadores, we have the debuts. Right now, Millonarios is facing Fluminense. If you're recording the game, if you don't want to watch, if you don't want to hear the result, I'll give you about 3 seconds to mute and then another 5 seconds for me to say the result and come back. All right, it is 1-1. Right now, 1-1 against Fluminense. A tough fixture, but there they are at home, and hopefully they'll win because they'll need it to go on the road. Nacional, again, facing Olimpia this coming Thursday. That game will be, number one, will be tough, really tough, because Olimpia is a tough opponent. But Olimpia are not really doing well. Olimpia have some glaring flaws right now. They're very heavily criticized so far, Olimpia. Can Nacional pull this off? They go on the road first, and then they will host Olimpia, which is an advantage already for Atlético Nacional. That game will be at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, 4:30 Pacific on Thursday. So watch out for those. The beginning of the road for Copa Libertadores. I talked about it last episode 32. You can go back and watch and listen because I talked about this season with all the signings, big name signings coming to the Colombian League. I expect Colombia to get back up to at least some kind of protagonist role, some kind of actual showing up, some kind of run into a quarterfinal, semifinal, hopefully even a final, who knows, by one of the 4 teams, Millonarios, Nacional, Cali, or Tolima. We'll see what happens, but that's Copa Libertadores rematches next week. We'll preview them, of course, on next week's episode. In the meantime, next week's episode will be on Tuesday, March 1st, 2 days before my 30th birthday. So I hope to see you all next Tuesday and every Tuesday subsequently. After that, of course, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The Colombian Soccer Pod will be with episode number 34 of the podcast. We'll talk about, of course, all the games from Liga Femenina, Liga Masculina BetPlay. We'll talk about the game tomorrow between the Colombia women's national team and Argentina, the friendly in Bucaramanga. We'll preview also the Copa Libertadores games for both Millonarios and Nacional, as they'll be vying for 2 spots in the next round and a matchup against each other in the final qualifying round of Copa Libertadores. In the meantime, make sure to follow us on Twitter at ConcuSoccerPod, on Instagram, Colombia Soccer Pod, Facebook, the Colombia Soccer Pod. Also subscribe, like our page on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Twitch, subscribe if you listen to our podcast via audio on iTunes, on SoundCloud, on Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure to listen to our show, subscribe, leave us a review. And if you get any questions, you can DM us on Twitter, you can DM us on Instagram, and you can email us. colombiancolombiapod@gmail.com is the email address for you to send any questions, any comments. I'll read them on the air. I'll shout you out. I'll make you famous, at least for a little bit, if you write to us. So make sure to do so. Any comments you have about anything Colombian soccer, Give us a piece of your mind. Give us your questions. We'll read them on the air, and I'll answer them during the show next week, March 1st, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. On that note, thank you so much for joining us for episode number 33. And we'll be back Tuesday for episode 34. Have a great rest of your night, whatever night it is for you.